Well, Jake, it's getting good, and we say that every week, but it's the truth. It keeps getting better. This week, or last week, brought us a series of outstanding games. We're going to talk about each one of them. We're getting down to the point where it's not quite make or break time, but we're getting close. We got a 4-way tie in one district for first. We got a 3-way tie for second in one 5A district. And here comes Lyford, and here comes La Villa. Let's get to it, man, on the show.
Let's do it.
Okay.
What's first up? What's first up?
Well, let's go for 36A, and let's talk about the fact that we thought La Jolla was on a roll, and it was, and then it ran into Mission. Oh, boy.
Yeah, and Mission, I mean, this is probably their best game since Edinburgh.
Yeah.
You know, and this is a quality opponent, an opponent that had just beat Mac High, and I'm not sure if that high from beating Mac High,
Yeah, I like it.
you know, kind of killed their momentum.
Well, they kept the Coyotes from running the ball, and that was the thing that we talked about. They had a pretty good ground game, but they didn't get but a handful of yards, a couple of first downs rushing, so hats off to the Mission Eagles. Now, so they're back in the race. They're still in that second tier because Memorial and Mac High play this week, first place on the line. Palmview's looking pretty good. La Jolla takes the off week. They're 2-2, but up behind come Mission and Rowe, and lo and behold, they play each other this week.
Yeah, and Rowe needs this win. Both teams need the win, but Rowe really needs this win because they lost a nail biter to Mac High, and then against Palmview, the wheels fell off.
Wow, man, gave up 55 points, and they scored their share. But no, Palmview, has found some other rushing options. They got some other kids. Garrett's carrying the ball. They're looking strong right now. They're going to have to win this week because they finished with Memorial and Mac High. But Palmview right now is looking pretty good. La Jolla is looking pretty good. Let's go back to the matchup. Okay, so Rowe and Mission, both 1-2. No, Rowe's 1-3, 1-2. It's a Thursday game. If Mission wins, it's got a chance to make the playoffs, man. It's starting to be able to control part of its own destiny here.
And this is one of those things where, we thought Mission really didn't, well, at least I did. I thought they didn't really have a chance of really getting back in.
I'll admit it, right?
And the doors kind of swung open because Rowe really hasn't done what they've needed to do. La Jolla didn't do what they needed to do.
Man.
La Jolla, all they had to do was win that game, and they're pretty much in.
35-14. The thing is, they have a ton of underclassmen playing on that La Jolla team, especially on defense. And sometimes, you can get a hiccup at the wrong time. And the fact of the matter is, they're still quite in the race. But that was surprising. I guess I figured La Jolla was going to continue to be ascendant, but that was not the case. Okay, if the season ended today, Palmview would be in. They're 2-1. They got Lincoln. They got to win that game, like I said, because they finished with two tough teams in McAllen.
And Lincoln was very surprising, and they even surprised Coach Brewer, who I don't think anybody expected them to put that many points up against Mac High, and Mac High played well.
Yeah, they did.
Those pick sixes are what really kept them in the game.
Yeah. Well, Lincoln is one of those teams where I saw them early in the season. They played economies to within 10, so I always felt like they had some potential to be better than they had been doing. They came to play in that game and still didn't get it. 0-3, 1-6. Palmview, I have a good feeling about right now. Of course, we said that about La Jolla last week, and look what happened. Right? Okay, so Memorial and Mac High. Memorial gets a week to rest. McAllen seems to be scoring quite a few points, but surrendering their share of points. So, and they're going to give up some points to Memorial. So what it boils down to is it's going to be one of those 50-48 games.
Yeah, I really do. I think it's going to be an up and down game. I think, now here's the thing. Every game that McGowan has run wild, they've been able to capitalize on that.
Right.
Even with Youngblood's two pick sixes last week, they were still ahead in the game. They really, I don't want to say weren't threatened because they were.
Yeah.
But there was an obvious, a level of.
Well, the great equalizer. When you got a kid like that, now we get to see him up in head-to-head against Spates, against the kid. What do you think's going to happen there? Well, not that they're going to play offense defense.
Spates has got 30 rushing TDs this season.
That's a few.
McGowan's got 20 TDs on the season,
wow.
off a variety of ways.
And a variety of ways.
Yeah, but they're going to need it. Mac High's going to have to get four touchdowns from him at least, I think. I think this is one of those things because when they haven't, the La Jolla game was evidence enough that they really need those.
Well,
they've had close games.
I look forward to an exciting game over there. I can't say that I feel like Memorial's not a favorite because right now they're 7-0. You know what they average per game?
What's that?
58 points per game. Ooh. Them and St. Joe are the two highest scoring teams by average per game, and so. But here's the thing. That's right in McAllen's wheelhouse because they've shown they can score a ton of points too.
Yeah.
Maybe the first team to play defense wins, right? Well, we have some playoff stuff we're going to talk about in the next couple of weeks, but right now, let's go to 31-6A because I have a feeling that Weslaco and Weslaco East might be headed for a collision course for the district title unless Weslaco East cannot beat PSG North. And I saw the Raiders last week, and I think they look pretty good. Here's the deal, Jake. For a team that was, having some rough patches, they've been playing well lately.
Yeah, they have.
They really have gotten a lot of kids into the mix. I'll tell you who made a difference was his big defensive end, Matt Garza, number 90. He'd been hurt earlier in the season. He made a ton of plays on both sides of the ball, man. He was sacking the quarterback. He forced a punt that went straight up and ended up with Raiders having the ball at the 5. He caught a couple of passes. Bear Estrada, this big kid, he was 54, now he's 93. Wherever he touches the ball, that big old boy will knock you over, and he's got good feet. They're getting a lot of contributions from guys that you maybe hadn't counted on, including the junior receiver, right? This kid came in, his name is Bo Adams for PSG North. Fuentes got hurt, a hand injury, I don't know how bad it is. But this kid comes in, he starts running the ball like crazy. He had over 100 yards in the second half, and they beat Edinburgh North pretty handily. Or was it Economedes pretty handily?
Yeah. And you have to give it up to them because, what they've done since, the QB issue has been incredible because they've almost rallied around that momentum. And the games, beating Edinburgh North, beating Economedes, those have been, they haven't won them by, a
ton.
defensive battle, but they put up some points.
But they won the games they had to win. They got back in the race. They're 3-1. They play East, and that's a great ball game, by the way. I'll tell you what, man, there's a kid that I told you before about, Raudel Alvarez, 25. I'm not sure, and this is for PSG North, I'm not sure if I've seen a guy this year that covers and hits in combination like he does. He's a very good player, and he's only a junior. So now they play Weslaco East, and how do you think that game shakes out? It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I like Weslaco East in the game if...
On the road Thursday.
If they can control the tempo. Now, that's the question, if they can control the tempo, because... when they've controlled the tempo, they pretty much handled Economedes. They've been able to play their type of game.
They're the type of team that makes you do what they want to do.
Yeah,
right?
As long as they don't have to throw. Throw a significant amount because they are throwing it more. Yeah. But as long as they don't have to throw it as much as PSG North likes to throw it.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, with Adams, even if it's Adams or Fuentes, they're not throwing as much. Because that spread has kind of morphed into a more read option right now because, quite frankly, the kid they had at the beginning of the season had a better arm. Darren Fuentes, like I said, he's a running quarterback. And this Bo Adams, though, he was swift, man. He really was. 24. This year has been amazing because every game I go to, it seems like a kid plays quarterback without a number in the teens. Mm-hmm. 24 this time, 35 last time. Good Lord, I expect
54 next time.
Right, well, 54, yeah, running the ball. I'm telling you, this Bear Estrada, man, he's tough. He was a back on the lower level. He really grew and got strong and became a lineman. But he's got good feet. They're doing some screen passes. How many times have you seen a guy wearing 93 catching a screen pass and running people over?
No, it doesn't happen.
I like that kid a lot. It's going to be a great game now. Here's the thing. PSG North, he's got a new spirit. He's got the energy going. But East is a very solid team. And they got some guys coming on that I want to mention. Ryan Rodriguez, not the guy for Vela. This is another guy. Kid for Velas too. He's 82. He's got 4 interceptions. Adrian Duran is a linebacker that's made a ton of tackles. So they're starting to. Aguirre's played well. They've got some guys who are stepping in. They still got Vargas, still got Ciro, still got Marco Arroyo. I like the East defense. We'll see what they can do with those swift feet of Bo Adams and the crunching runs of Rene Ramirez. I was very impressed with the Raiders. I've seen them the last couple of weeks. They just believe in themselves right now, and that goes a long way. I'm not going to say they're the most talented team in the district. They're not, they're near the top in that respect. But right now, they just got the feeling. Yeah. I can sense it.
And East, we've talked about this before. East had that bye, and I don't know if they needed the bye.
They want to play. So, they're killing everybody.
Yeah, we'll see right now how that bye, if it affected them in a positive or a negative way. But if East can establish the run. I think it's going to be a longer night for PSG North. I still think that they have a chance because they're almost an enigma when it comes to, a lot of teams were preparing for that spread with the pass.
And now they're a little different. Yeah. They couldn't quite know what they're going to do. I tell you what, man, that's going to be the best game of the week, I have a feeling. PSG Memorial at Weslaco now. Weslaco right now is riding high. I saw them play Edinburgh North, and, man, they just walloped them. Old-fashioned shellacking. I love that word. It's like a 50s word. Shellacking. Northwestern shellacked Minnesota. 35-0. 6 minutes left in the second quarter. They scored on all 5 possessions. They were doing it all, man. Throwing bombs. Look, have you seen Major Free? Mm-hmm. Major Free is cold, man. That guy's tough. Long-legged, lanky. He got some hips, man. I was impressed with him. He ran the ball well. He caught a bomb for a touchdown. And I got lucky and captured the picture of him catching the ball that we ran. Weslaco's good, man.
Yeah.
They got the spirit too, man. They're beating people to death.
What what do you think is better? This team right now, the way they're playing, or the Weslaco teams with Dylan De Leon at QB? Because I mean, if you think about it, this team, especially with whether they have five underclassmen on defense, am I right?
Yeah.
You know, like where do you put this team as far as Weslaco lore? I mean, in the recent.
Well, you can only make a comparison like that when it comes down to how they do in the playoffs. But so far, I think they stack up relatively favorably. And the key, I think, is Dez. He's really running that team as a senior. He's throwing the ball with alacrity. When he gets the chance, he threw a couple of touchdown passes. They teach the cutback. My God, Brian. Of course, Brian Garrett, that's natural, man. He's just a very good athlete. But those other kids they have, Uciel and them, Matt, they just make the cuts, man. They don't wait around. They got a pretty good size offensive line. They're quick to the ball, and they make their cuts, and they make you miss. Man, because Edinburgh North has a reasonably good defense, but Weslaco shredded them. Yeah. Now, in terms of the Weslaco defense, of course, Jordan Nichols is a special player, I think. He's reminding me of that number 40 they used to have a couple of years ago. Remember Michael? He was so good. He has gotten way bigger, man. I remember him being leaner, and his legs have gotten big, and he's just crunching people without any, as I wrote, without any loss of speed. And Edwards, a good linebacker, too, number 6 alongside him. 8 Nichols and 2 Diego. Those guys go all the way across the field, and they murder people, man. I mean, they absolutely take people out. That's a hitting team. Big ends, 53, a couple of big tackles inside, the run stuffers. No, Weslaco, to me, until somebody proves differently, to me is the best team in the district.
You know, I say that Dylan De Leon.
Yeah, he was good, man.
He's one of their coaches now, which is crazy. But
big in the playoffs, he was.
But you know what? I actually think PSG North did the rest of the district a favor when they beat PSG Memorial. I know it was a very close game, 22-20, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 22-20, right?
Yeah, and I think they did I think they did the district a favor because PSG Memorial was playing some good football, and I don't want to say it in a mean way, but I saw the wheels fall off last week. I mean, Edinburgh went out and they controlled the second half. I was very surprised. I was at the house because I was waiting.
Omar Garza, interception.
Yeah, they controlled the second half, and it's not the same PSG Memorial team that I had seen in highlights, seen in film prior to this.
They lost 5 in a row, man.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you get on a losing streak and things don't go your way, you stop doing the little things right. You give up and stuff. Yeah. It's not like they're. I don't know, man. It's tough for them over there, and that's something they're just going to have to work on. I mean, they got time to get it together and finish strong.
Yes.
And get ready for next year. Because right now, man, I mean, I don't know if it's going to happen for them. Whereas the Bobcats, everybody's like, they're no good, this and that. Well, they're 1-2, and so is Economides after losing 2 in a row. That game Friday night at Cat Stadium means a ton.
Yeah, and if you think about, you think about it this way, Economides, they're still playing for playoff hopes here. I mean, they still have a slim chance, right?
I would say they do. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if it's slim. They win 2 in a row, they're 3 because they have EHS and North. Yeah. They're not leaving Cat Stadium, so if they win the city championship, they make the playoffs probably.
Yeah, and so, Edinburgh's riding high right now because
absolutely,
28-7 victory, and they've shown that they can throw the ball. They're throwing the ball, and they're catching it over the middle. It's not like little bubbles.
Yeah,
they're catching it.
That's what they were trying early on. Hey, Galavis is a big kid. He's got a pretty good arm. I like Jerry Zaya, man, or Jerry Z. I'm gonna call him Jerry Z. On the jet sweep, that dude is fast. Number 8, he can do a lot of things. Finally, something went right for the Bobcats, and so who knows going into a Economides? Maybe a lot of people would still say, well, the Jags are a better team. But you know what? Once you get that first win, I've been telling you, you never know, man. Now, the fact of the matter is they're still challenged in many areas, but this is going to be a knockdown, drag-out game, and I wish I was going to be there. I'm going up to see Kansas State and Texas, which would probably be a knockdown, drag-out, and both of them get dragged out by their feet. Neither one of them are any good, but that's okay. Yeah, it's fine.
That's okay. You get to
go up to Austin. You get to go up to half-price books. That's what I'm talking about.
On Thursday.
Absolutely, and we're going to talk about. Well, let's talk about it right now.
All right.
32-6A, 4 teams in first place. Now, as we're going to tell you, San Benito appears to be in the driver's seat because they have a schedule that's a little bit less heavy than the other 3. But I'm looking at Harlingen and Brownsville Vets on Thursday night over at Sam's. That's going to be a fun night.
Yeah, later on, I think it was a Friday morning, I kind of was in the mood to actually write something for once. And I actually wrote about how this season's kind of been the lackluster. There's been a lot of lackluster games. The games that we thought were going to be really good were okay. Besides Sherryland and Sherryland Vela, San Benito, Harlingen, those games were really good.
Right.
And then we have all these games this weekend. I don't, we'll talk about Ed Calchels and Mercedes.
They were great
but
ones.
The games in 32-6A, they were really good games.
Yes,
I mean,
they were.
They were competitive games. And, for those teams to be all tied at 1,
it's amazing.
It's scary.
And parenthetically, don't forget South.
Yeah.
South has got 2 losses, 2-2. They're hanging around the periphery, playing better. Alec Garza is a two-way star. So is Darren Pettis. And Brandon played.
Yeah.
Brandon Villarreal played. I guess his injury healed up quick. Don't forget about the South. But let's talk about Harlingen and Brownsville Vets. Vets comes off a loss.
Yes.
San Benito, I think they were surprised the way the Greyhounds handled them. I understand that Castillo, the quarterback for Vets, is a little bit banged up. That may have had something to do with it, but I'm going to tell you what, San Benito's good, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you have to remember, Brownsville Vets is not a small team.
No.
They're a fast, mobile team. And San Benito almost looked like they did against McAllen Memorial. They were very shifty.
Scoring.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, Harlingen, I think Harlingen really proved something against Los Fresnos, right? They forced 4 turnovers. If you watch the video, man, they're swarming. I don't care who you talk about, if it's George Jaime, whether it's these other, Charlie Moreno had a great game. He blocked the PAT. He made a couple of big hits and had an interception. Anybody you name, 2 Sam Medina and Sam, all those guys were playing. And they were, you watch the highlights, and Ortega was under pressure the whole game. And he still had a heck of a game, but they forced turnovers, did Harlingen, and they made the plays against Los Fresnos, and they made it happen. You see Tienda's spin move?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, of course, MAG. Michael Allen Gonzalez, that's my guy, man. He scored a touchdown.
MAG, huh?
MAG. Yeah. Daniel Funk, number 11, catches a 2-point conversion. Harlingen saved their season. They're still in the race for the district title, and now they go down and play Vets, and boy, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I mean, you look at these games right now. I mean, this is the meat of their district right now, and it's all going to come down. I think it really is going to come down to that last game between South and Harlingen.
It may well come down to the Bird Bowl, because right now, San Benito, and I know that's a 4-way tie, but they're in the driver's seat. Look at the schedule. They have Lopez this week on the road. Then they've got South and Rivera, okay? So Lopez and Rivera are bottom feeders. Now, both of them have shown signs. Obviously, Lopez is doing a little bit better than Rivera. South is one of those teams that's, they're 2-2. They've played better. But, I mean, they don't have one of those big 4 power teams left. They're 1, and they've played the other 2, and they've beaten them. So what do you say?
Well, I like their chances of.
Well, they didn't beat Los Fresnos.
No,
they lost 14-7.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
But
or did they win 14-7? No, they lost 14-7.
They lost.
Okay.
But beating Harlingen, beating Brownsville Vets. I mean, they're sitting pretty right now. I think they have a really good chance. I think that the other teams are going to beat up on each other.
Gaitan went nuts. You see the number of yards you had and the 3 long runs for touchdowns. Man, I'll tell you what. San Benito, unless, of course, last year the same situation was going on, and they had some problems down the stretch, and they didn't get to clinch it. But you know what? If you told me you think they're going to win the district, I would have to agree with you right now. Nothing written in stone at all. But they did what they had to do. They beat a very good team, and the schedule is favorable to them. Whereas against Harlingen, they still have to do South. They still have to play Vet. So it just depends on, with you looking at those 4 teams, who they have left. Los Fresnos, for example. They still have Vets and Hannah. And Hannah is one of those tricky things that you don't want to have to mess with. I think they could probably get by them, but let's see what they do with Vets in a couple of weeks. They play Rivera this week. They can't turn the ball over. They haven't turned the ball over all year. But when they did, against a good team like Harlingen, and again, I think the team speed that we were talking about last week, the edge probably went to Harlingen.
Yeah.
And if you look at that video that we have, you'll see 6 or 8 guys all over the quarterback and all over the receivers. Except you can't get all over Pete Pettis, man, because he'll turn and he'll catch and he'll go. He did it again. He's got 10 touchdowns. That guy's a very good player. It was not Los Fresno's best effort. It's up to you to decide out there whether the Harlingen pressure and the swarming defense. For a while there, they started to look like the old Harlingen of a couple of years back. Everybody coming to the ball with bad intentions, man. I was impressed with that effort.
And if you look, their defensive linemen, they'll shift out a little bit. They're almost Domingo Rincon, kind of, that. Was it Domingo Rincon, right?
Oh, yeah, Mingo.
Their defensive end, he would shift all the way out and move, he'd make the line have to guess where he was going to attack from. And I've seen Harlingen do that, a couple times this year.
Well, they're not huge, but their kids are fast and they have a lot of want to. So I thought that was the kind of effort they needed to get back into it. So we think San Benito is probably ascendant, but man, a lot of funny things can happen.
Yeah.
But I think Vets and Harlingen, both teams need to get together and play a great game, and I hope that they do. Sam Stadium, always some strange things happen down there, man. Now, could it be that the playoff picture is beginning to look a little bit like last year?
Very.
Because, I mean, you know, we're going to see Harlingen and Weslaco again.
It looks like it.
We're going to see Los Fresnos and either Econometers or North and the big schools. You know, PSJ North, San Benito, I mean, Weslaco East. I mean, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, absolutely. I think it's been a great season so far. You know, you run into always a naysayer or two that says, well, you know, other than the kids, this and that. No, I think it's been pretty fun so far, and I think the next 3 weeks have a lot of surprises in store, and we do not know what they'll be. We have our feelings and intuitions, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. Now let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the 5As. One team's trying to go undefeated like Memorial, and one team's trying to keep a 5-game winning streak as Donna is at the top of 32 5A. What do you think of them apples? We'll be back.